I'm going to say a few words first before give Doug an opportunity. First of all, thanks for coming out today. Obviously, this is a great day for the Bulls organization, bringing Doug Collins back in a role senior advisor to basketball operations. Just to give you a little background, when the season ended, as often happens, Gar and I sat down looking for ways that we can improve the organization. And as time went on and we met with Jerry and Michael, the idea of something like this role started to take shape. And given Jerry's relationship, my relationship with Doug over the years, we thought, hey, let's see if maybe this isn't a good time for Doug to come back into the fold. And so in approaching him, it was very casual, no expectations other than, he's been such a good friend of ours for so long. But the more we kind of dug into the prospects of this and what it means, the more we kept asking ourselves, why wouldn't we do this? Here's a guy that has great respect around the league. He's got 40-plus years of experience in the league. He is known as one of the brightest minds in all of basketball, not just from a coaching perspective, but just from he's seen it all through different organizations and different type of situations. So we kind of delved into it, and like I said, we just kept saying, why wouldn't we do something like this to enhance our organization? It really didn't take form until Jerry and Michael were able to sit down with Doug a few weeks ago, Labor Day night, and really talk about the things that we all think he can bring to the table, and we think those are vast. Doug is here initially we've talked about this a lot, observe the organization and what we do. He's been with several different organizations over the years, so he has a perspective that a lot of us don't have. So come in and observe. But the most important thing right off the bat is to get comfortable with the people in this building, form relationships with our staff and the front office, with the coaching staff, with our players, with everyone. And through that, we believe that we'll find great levels of communication and trust that will evolve out of those things. I had the good fortune of playing for Doug back in the 3 years that he was here, and I always saw an intensity and a passion that was unique. And it was his first head coaching job. I saw him put his heart and soul into it. I know what this city means to him. I know what this organization means to him. As far as what he will be doing is, again, we feel like we have open lines of communication with within our organization, and we expect him to look at things, make suggestions. Doug will not be coaching. Doug will not be a decision maker. None of the roles have changed. Fred's our coach. Fred has had a phenomenal summer with our young players in this building. We're excited about what's going on there. As I said, Doug will not be a decision maker. Gar Forman and I continue to be at the forefront of the Bulls organization. And the reason we want Doug to speak today is because of his stature in the league and the reputation that he has. And but from this point on, we view him as what we would call an internal advisor, where he's not going to be a spokesman for the organization. He is well versed in so many aspects of this profession and professional basketball, all aspects of it, coaching, front office, the decisions that have to be made in trades. His wealth of knowledge and his wisdom are going to be a huge asset for us. So how we view it is, what a great resource for our entire organization to have, to be able to pick his brain. My hope is that players will sit down with him and talk to him and pick his brain. Coaches, myself, Gar, it has all the potential to be a really good thing for organizations. So with that said, I'll answer a couple of questions, but I do want Doug to get up here and speak.
John, in terms of on court, will you do some work with the players in that regard, or just like behind the scenes conversation?
No, we have a coaching staff in place, and Doug, Doug and I have had a long relationship, and I will tell you this, over the last many, many years. Doug will reach out to me. He'll reach out. He's got a lot of people across the league that he stays in communication with, and generally it's there as a word of support and to tell you he's got your back. But I've sat with him enough times to know how bright he is, and we're excited. I know that when Jerry and Michael sat down with him, they walked out of there going, this is right. It's the right time. It's the right time for him. He'll talk about that, but everything about this is right.
Is that timing and also where the organization stands the main reason Jerry's more comfortable with this hiring as opposed to in 08 when he cited his friendship with Doug as the reason why?
Yeah, I think a large part of this is the fact that we did make a decision on direction, and we are going to have some big decisions to make going forward. Again, what a great resource to have, for us. So, I think the comfort level right now is really solid, and like I said, Doug will speak for himself. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but he doesn't want to coach. He doesn't want to make decisions. He wants to be a part of this, and so much of this business is trust, and he obviously trusts Jerry and Michael, and he and I have had the relationship for a long time. So, like I said, we kept asking ourselves, why wouldn't we do this? And there was no reason not to.
He's not going to be a spokesman for the organization, obviously. How did you address the fact that here's a highly visible guy in the league, television, radio, however, and moving forward, how's that going to work if he's not a spokesman for the organization?
He's going to have to not answer his phone. So that's pretty much it. So, look, it's a lot of what we address. I'm going to speak. It's always been this way. Jerry, Michael, Gar, and myself speak for the organization, and Fred, obviously. Fred is the daily guy especially when the season starts. So, our message will get out the same way.
John, you've spent a lot of time with the collegiate level lately in the last few years. How much can he help you with the scouting and the input when it comes to draft?
Well, that's what I was talking about earlier. Is I think there's so many ways that he will be able to help the organization going forward, and he's been in draft rooms. He's been responsible for choosing players. His eye for players and what he likes and sees. I mean, that's he's been through it all. So we will find ways to use Doug on all levels. That's really probably the best way to put it.
John, how did you approach this? How did this whole thing come about? Did you guys contact Doug, or was it sort of a thing that just happened?
No, we contacted Doug. In fact, Doug and I had lunch together, which we do on occasion back before the draft. And, we were talking about some ideas and some things. And, I think even at that, when we were sitting together, I could tell he's in such a good place with his life, with Chris here in the Northwestern program, a couple grandkids here, and just the fact that right now he can have all of that he wants, and he's a basketball lifer. He watches games all the time. He watches everything. So, but it had to evolve into to make sure that there was the right role, the right reasons to do it. And like I said, we always came back to made a lot of sense.
Is there any update with Nico?
No update with Nico. Gar continues to talk to his representatives, and the qualifying offer is still out there. So, but no. So I'm going to turn it over to Doug right now. So, and again, this is a day we're really happy about. Think with our rebuild, good things are going to happen. So,
Thanks, Mac.
you got it, my man.
Well, it's nice to be home. John was talking about how long I've been in the NBA. This will be my 45th year. And two franchises obviously are very important to me. Philadelphia, when they drafted me when I came out of college in 1973, ended up spending 13 years with that organization, and I played, I broadcast, and I coached. And then coming back here to Chicago, that gave me the first opportunity to coach. That Jerry Reinsdorf and Jerry Krause saw something in me broadcasting basketball games, and they reached out and gave me the opportunity to be coach of the Chicago Bulls. This is a city that I've always loved. My family has always loved it. My children were raised here, and for me to be able to do this here at this time, is such a thrill. And I think Pax said something about, the place I am in my life. I'm 66, have 5 grandkids now. And when I turned my keys in at Philadelphia and I resigned as a coach, Chris was getting ready to come to Northwestern, and I knew at that point in time that I didn't want to coach anymore. And so one of the things that we talked about when Jerry and Michael and I were together at the dinner the one night is the first thing that must be known is under no circumstances am I going to coach here. And so that should not even be a question. And I know there's still going to be people go, yeah, sure, coach. How many times did this guy retire and come back and all that kind of stuff. So I get that. But I'm not going to coach. I'm not going to give up my life, the hours and the time commitment that Fred Hoiberg puts in on a day, and the energy that he spends and being on the road and being away from his family. I'm not going to miss any Northwestern games. And I've got a son-in-law that coaches in outside Philadelphia at a high school, Archbishop Carroll. I'm going to be there. I'm not going to miss that. So it worked perfectly in my schedule when I talked to Pax that I could be a part of something special, the Chicago Bulls, and I love the Chicago Bulls. As I said, I coached here 3 years. I didn't win any championships, but I walk around this city, and the love that the people have always shown me has been really amazing. It's almost like you would have thought that I would have been the one that had won them. And that's the kind of respect that I've always got here in Chicago. That's why this city's so important. And then to watch what my son is doing at Northwestern and to see what's happening over there and to be a part of that. I think Pax said it best. I'm not here to be a decision maker. I want to provoke thought. I want to be someone. My mind is very active. Anybody who's ever been around me, I think all the time. And I think to get into a room and to bounce ideas off of each other or whatever, at the end of the day, Gar, Michael, Jerry, Pax will make those decisions. The beauty of it is that when there's a level of trust, that when you're talking about things, you can speak openly and honestly with people, knowing the only thing that matters is that whatever happens is the best for the franchise. And so to be able to be back here at this point in time in my life is really amazing. It is an answer to prayer in a lot of ways, because where I am in my life right now, I'm a mentor. That's when I'm at my best, mentoring people and being there. And when you've ever coached in this league, you sort of become a wounded healer. And I think Fred would probably tell you that over the last couple of years, I've really not known Fred that well, but how many times I reached out via text, when you're going through tough times or whatever, just to, keep doing what you're doing, keep your spirits up or whatever. So I think what's going to end up happening is, as I sit around here and observe and watch, more and more there'll be, that Fred and I will talk about a lot of different things, but it's going to be when he feels like that he needs to come up and talk to me or whatever, I'll be there for him every step of the way. I'm not going to be one seeking him out and doing that kind. He's the coach of this team, and it's going to be a very interesting team. It's going to be very young and a team that's rebuilding. So there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. I hope I can be someone that will be a voice for him, who's been in this business for a lot of time, for a lot of years, who's lived and died those moments a lot. And other than that, as I said, Chicago's a home to me. Philadelphia, first, as a player, my children were born there, and then come to Chicago, my first coaching job, and my children are raised here. And so this is home, and I'm really excited. And one of the things I can't wait to be a part of is to watch this organization start to build brick by brick and start to become a really, really good team again. And one of the things I would like to share is I trust Gar and Pax a ton, with what they're going to do. And I think if we would think back, just a few short years ago, at 260-win teams, a team that had a chance to win a championship, and unfortunately their MVP tears up his knee. the heart and soul of the team. Joakim Noah gets hurt. You lose those kind of players, and it takes a toll on your franchise. And so this is about great players, getting the people around them. It's one of the things, when the Bulls were a championship team, they had great players, but they had great pieces around them that played their roles. And Pax has said to you, I've been around a while, I've seen a lot of players, and I think I know what a good player is and what a player is in this NBA and what you have to do to play well. And those will be the little suggestions that I'll make to Gar and Pax. And if you ask what my schedule is going to be, my schedule is going to be whatever Pax, Gar, and Fred need me to do for them. That will be my schedule. I'm here to help them however they need me to help them.
To the top of the broadcasting profession, hailed nationally for the great work you've done. Is this opportunity to get back into the competitive arena? I mean, as much satisfaction as you get broadcasting, is this a chance now to contribute and get the organization
Well,
back?
you know what I always say. First of all, I love broadcasting, and I do want to say something. To ESPN, who the last 4 years, who I worked for. I worked 3 in the studio. I worked last year as a game analyst, and I want to thank them for all that they did for me. The 4 years were tremendous. I had to learn to do studio, something I'd never done before. I had to stretch myself a little bit, and they were great to me. And, to call them today and let them know that I was going to be doing this, they put their blessing on it. But, Mark, I think really is, when you broadcast, there is no final score. With your play-by-play guy, your camera guys, your guys in the truck, all the people that are part of this huge team, you have a great satisfaction, but did you win or did you lose? It's subjective. When you're a part of a team, you look up and did you win or did you lose? And I think anybody who's been a competitor likes that feeling of being invested. And this gives me a chance to be invested and to be able to be part of a team, and they're going to grow, and it's going to be fun watching them grow. And my history, if you want to look back on it, when I went to the 76ers, they were 9-72. They were the worst team in the history of professional basketball. 4 years later, we were playing for a world championship. See how things quickly change. The NBA is cyclical now. Other than the San Antonio Spurs, over the last 20 years, every elite franchise has gone through this moment. And so now what you got to do is you got to, dig yourself back up, and you say, we got to start doing all the things that's necessary to gain assets day by day, to put all the work in. So we're going to give ourself a chance that when we continue to get better players and more talent, that you're going to win more basketball games. And go ahead, Casey. No, I'm done. I'm a broadcaster. I know how to get out and get in.
John cited your passion and intensity, obviously, and anyone who's been around you or known you has felt that passion and intensity. How do you walk that fine line between helping the franchise with those trademarks, but also allowing people like Fred Hoiberg to grow, or John and Gar to make decisions?
Well, I'm not going to be down on the court.
Right.
So I'm going to be sitting up in the stand somewhere. So.
Right, but your personality is your personality. So how do you walk that fine line between contributing that personality, but also, is it just letting people come to you?
Absolutely. That's one thing I said before is what I will do is any suggestion that I will have will be if they come up and ask me something, especially Fred. I mean, it's Fred's team, and I'm not going to get in the way of that at all. My intensity and my passion has kept me in this league for 45 years. I was, at 16 years old, I was 6 feet tall, weighed 135 pounds, and didn't start for my high school team. And so I'm not going to give up that part of me. But understand, when I'm sitting up there in the stands, I'm not down here doing those kind of things. That's not, plus, I'm 66 now with 5 grandkids. I see things a little differently.
Considering your pedigree of 6 decades of seeing basketball evolve the way that it has, could your expertise also be used, and your pedigree, to perhaps recruit free agents that could also come here and start to build this franchise back to what it was when you first took over as coach with Michael Jordan as your bell cow?
Jim, I would hope so, because the one thing that I think that you always do, whatever profession, is if I say, Jim, what is the most important thing to you as what you do? And it's the respect of your peers. I want the respect of my peers. Nothing else then matters. And so I feel like as a coach, as a broadcaster, I've tried to earn that respect. I feel very good about that. And so this is a great city. And do I think I can help? I think absolutely I can help. And so I hope to be able to, again, you know, it's hard for me to sit up here, Jim, and put this, what is the definition of your job? Because I think it's going to be a lot of different things. But the one thing I want to be is I want to be an asset for this organization because of the way I feel about this organization. And as I said before, Jerry Reinsdorf gave me my first job. And he and I have had an incredible experience and become very good friends through the years. I've just gotten to know his son Michael recently. Michael's a big Northwestern guy, so that's all good. But I just want to be an asset, whatever that means, however that can be. It might be, would you go speak tomorrow night to our season ticket holders and talk to them about the season? Of course I will. And so I think it's open-ended, and we'll figure it out. But training camp will be here, and I'm going to find a chair somewhere, and I'm going to watch. And the one thing that I'm a sponge. I'm a sponge. I don't miss much. I pay attention. And the one thing I've always tried to do in my life is surround myself with people smarter than me so I can keep learning. And that's why I think at 66 I'm continuing to grow. And I think back on a guy, Johnny Bach, who, what he meant in my life. He started out with me as an assistant coach with the Olympics and went everywhere I ever went as a pro coach. And his wisdom and what he brought at the age of 65, 66 to me when I was coaching, and I'm hoping that I can pay a little of that back.
Doug, by the end of the 76ers tenure, you
Yes.
had felt somewhat frustrated by today's generation of NBA players and how it was to manage them, or some way how getting through to them was difficult.
I don't know where that came from, David. I don't know. I never said that.
Did you feel? Do you feel like you? I mean,
No,
it's
here's
gonna be a young team. It's going to be.
Well, first of all, I spend a ton of time. You know, I can't be on the floor. I can't be with Chris's players now, hands on. But I mean, I've spent the last 4 years of my life with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids talking basketball to them. So, I mean, has time changed? Obviously, they have. But listen, the one thing I think I've done pretty well is adapt through time. The reason I left Philadelphia is a couple things. First of all, Chris came to Northwestern, and I wanted to be a part of that. And secondly, even though it wasn't said, I got a sense because when Andrew Bynum couldn't play, it looked like they were probably going to go into a rebuild and maybe tear the thing down and start all over. And at age 62, I couldn't deal with all those losses. So that's the reason. And I went into Josh Harris and I said, Josh, I'm not the coach for you now because of what you're probably going to have to go through. And it's going to be developing players and all those kind of things. But I'm not going to be on the floor like, I think if you would probably could follow me around with a camera and watch how I put my arm around kids and talk to them and talk to them about the game and that kind of stuff. That's who I am. I think there's this feeling that I'm this guy who's always on and fired up all the time. You know, I can sit and do a crossword puzzle for 3 hours now. So there is that side of me too.
Is this a position that you had always thought that?
Well, I mean, as I got older, it's a way I wanted to end my career like this. Being in a position where, like I said, I keep using the word mentor. An older guy, sort of seen it all. The highs and the lows, as what I always said about the game has given me the greatest of highs, and it's also broken my heart. But yet at age 66, I stand here and I've never loved it more. And I will tell you, I'm old. Let me finish. But I'm not old school. I got a young brain. And I think you get pigeonholed. That guy's old school because he's old. Now, if being on time and working hard and doing all those things are old school, then yes, I'm old school. But I will match my wits with anybody in terms of young people, in terms of what's going on now, what's happening, and so I am woke.
Outside, you've been on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
What's been the perception for you about this Bulls organization before you took this job?
Well, obviously, you know, it's sort of interesting, and it's ironic. The Bulls, probably the moment they started to slide was the day Derrick Rose tore up his knee against us in the playoffs. You know, game one. And that moment when Derrick was never that player again. And let's make no bones about it. The NBA, you win with special players, difference makers. And as I said before, then you get the right people around them that can play the way the game is played today, with spreading the floor and the three-point shooting and being able to defend and do the things the way the game is played today. And so my perception has been that in reading the last couple years, been a little bit of a piñata. Taking a lot of hits. And that's why I said to Pax and Gar and Fred and Jerry and Michael, I think it's important that every single day when you come in this gym, the players, everybody, you walk out and there's one more level of trust to drop in that bucket than when you left. And you keep putting trust in that bucket. And the interesting thing about trust is you gain it in drops and you lose it in buckets. And so what I'm hoping is, as where the Bulls are now, is that I know Fred, how they're going to play. I know they're going to be well prepared and everything else like that. And I hope that, you know, I'm going to put my arm around Pax and Gar and Fred and just say, let's just try to get the excitement and joy back of the Chicago Bulls. Just look how quickly it changed with the Sox. I mean, how quickly did it change with the Sox? There was an article in the paper, the teams that were rebuilding. And, you know, the Cubs had done it. Now you got the Bears and you got the Sox and you got the Bulls, and who's going to do it first and whatever. Rick Hahn makes 3 deals. They have the best young group of minor leagues. And now all of a sudden it's like, man, the Sox are going to be great. That's how quick perception changes. And if you do your job and you do it right and you make some good decisions, and then you got to get lucky. You got to have some luck. When they got Derrick Rose, it was a 1.7% chance to get him. And that's part of the business. And then you got to stay healthy. But I will tell you, the Bulls, this organization, I think is an amazing organization. And I think that Jerry Reinsdorf and Michael, and I know then in being around them the one night, they want this to be special again. And I hope in some little way that my way of saying thank you to Jerry for hiring me a long time ago and Pax for playing his tail off for me for 3 years is that maybe I can give a little back to them at this stage of my life.
Doug, I know both you and the organization are in different places now than in 08, but why do you think Jerry is comfortable hiring you now, albeit for a different role than
Well,
in 08?
I just think, you know, Jerry at that point in time in 08, his big thing was, I love you like a son, I don't want to have to fire you.
Right.
You know, and I got it. I mean, because when you're a coach, that's part of the business. He said, you know, I love you like a son. I don't want to get into that relationship again where things aren't going whatever, that I have to make a change. I care about you too much. And so I respected that, you know, and our friendship continued to grow through the years or whatever. Every time he was in Arizona, I'd stop by and buy him his lunch, and we'd talk a little bit. And it was always a sounding board for me. And when I was coaching, many instances, I would call him up on the phone, and I would say, hey, Jerry, I got this going on. What do you think? You know, and so we always talk to one another. But this is sort of a different, this is a behind-the-scenes role, much different than when you're Fred Hoiberg and you're standing down on the court and you're the guy in the firing line every single day. You're who everybody sees. This is the behind-the-scenes job for me. I'm not going to be a spokesperson. I'm not going to be doing interviews. Like, this is my shot one time to speak, and then I want to, you know, Johnny Bach's great line, be seated, and he'll be brief and be seated, was his great line. And so this is it. I'm going to get it all out, and hopefully I'll see you all around. The amazing thing about it is, to me, is how many familiar faces that I see, like, and which says to me a lot of the loyalty of this organization. And I see Timmy Hallam out there, and you know, a bunch of the guys that I saw, Karen Stack, and a lot of the people who worked here forever. And so when I walked in here, it was almost like I was walking into a place that I was very, very comfortable and familiar with. Thanks, Doug. Thank you. Yeah, I'll be seeing you. Thank you.